Hello ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here bringing you some more Winners League action. This is going to be the semi-final playoff series between SKT1 and Hwasong Oz. And here in the first map we're going to jump right on into it. It's going to be Ssak versus Baxter, or I'll probably be calling him Killer more often than not. That's how I first knew him. So Baxter for Hwasong Oz. In the top left, the now the yellow Zerg. And then in the opposite corner for SKT1, the red Terran is going to be Ssak. So Ssak finally getting some playtime here in crunch time. That's very unexpected to me. He basically hasn't played at all, and now all of a sudden he's getting a ton of playtime, or at least the opportunity for a ton of playtime. I think he played last week as well, so kind of interesting to see how much faith they have into him. All things considered, considering how little he's really been contributing. But good for him, he will definitely have an opportunity here to make an impression, and if he can get a win here in the first game, that'll take a lot of pressure off of the two-headed monster of Fantasy and Bisu, and as well as the sidekick Best, as it were, and start hacking away at the support in Hwasong Oz for Jaedong. And should Hwasong Oz actually advance out of this semi-final series, it would be because either Jaedong just goes nuts, or the support for him, just like for Flash, if the support for him is able to pick a win here or a win there and help him get them to that 4 wins that they need. Very similarly built teams, KT and Hwasong Oz for Flash and for Jaedong. KT is on a little bit streakier right now with stats playing very well in particular, so they're a little bit stronger right now, but we have seen in the past where Hwasong Oz, when Killer is maybe on a streak or High is playing very well, where Jaedong's supporting cast actually does look a little better than Flash's, but the teams are definitely built similarly, and very interesting to see those two teams play in the finals. We did have a 12 hatch there from from Killer, and 1 Rax Expo going up for Ssak. So pretty standard openings, economically builds, and there is the Fantasy. I do apologize that this series is coming up pretty late actually. I've been kind of busy earlier this week when I wanted to do some casting, but I am going to get these up before the Winners League Finals, which should be tomorrow. But better late than never. At least I'm going to beat it before the games actually go on, so they're not actually late. And if you haven't actually watched these games yet, and you are getting hyped up for the Winners League Finals, then this is definitely a good way to get ready. Finally, Killer coming in here for the scout and is going to see the cross positions that we've got going on here. And we already have the 3rd hatch down for Killer, and the gas should be going down momentarily, so probably going to see some 3 hatch speed here. We'll see if he's got any sort of tricks up his sleeve. Ssak, remember, has no scout on right now, so should some lings pop out very quickly, you could see a situation where Killer can maybe stop the SCV scout from going off, and Ssak is in the dark. And will anything pop out? No, it doesn't look like Killer's really worried about it. Yeah, he's just going to let Ssak wander into his base. Hasn't produced any Zerglings quite yet, not fast enough. And Ssak is going to get the scout off and see what's going on. Just now the mining starting on the gas. So going to be a little while before Speed and Layer are completed with those 3 hatches. We do have a factory already up for Ssak, so he's got, I think he sees the cross position, and he has that unharassed natural expansion, and he knows that there aren't any Zerglings until, you know, very recently. So he's actually going to go straight into some mech play off of this 1 Rax Expo, and a lot of players go with kind of a 2 Rax opening off of the 1 Rax Expo in order to get out a decent group of medic marines and then transition into more of a mech build. That's what we saw from Ruby last week, but this one's going to be straight into mech, and we'll see how Killer is able to respond. That Vulture could do a lot of damage if there's no creep colony, if there aren't enough Zerglings to defend, but there is a creep colony and another building going up. It's probably, I don't know what that is. We'll find out shortly. That SCV does go down, and yeah, that Vulture's not going to really have much luck at all. That is a Hydralisk Den, so it's going to be 3 hatch Lurker here, and the scout did come off, so Ssak definitely knows exactly what's coming his way. That SCV coming down and seeing that Hydra Den and the morphing layer was definitely very, very big. At least for a killer, it's not 2-hatch Hydra, so it's not nearly as all in. But he has shown his hand, that's for sure. Starport has been produced as well, so we're going to see some Wraiths probably develop into some dropship play, which could be very, very exciting. Dropped Vultures inside a Zerg base are absolutely devastating, so definitely something to watch out for. Machine Shop spinning, we'll see what that is for, if that's for Siege or if he's getting speed on those Vultures, depending on what his overall strategy. And Aspire coming up as well for Killer. So these mines are definitely something to watch out for with this Hydra and Lurker build. Is if you wander out your first few Hydras looking to maybe try and morph them into Lurkers closer to Ssak's base, if you're trying to be a little bit more aggressive, that could really end up killing you if you lose your initial Hydras to random mines around the map. So something to watch out for. He's got to be careful and keep track of where these mines are. And he does see the mines going down right now, so I think he knows that there are mines. He doesn't know how many there are. He probably doesn't really know exactly where they are. These are definitely some different placements from Ssak. I actually really like how he's picking out some very unorthodox position. Yeah, he is putting them at the bases, but he's also putting them on some ramps and some on different areas. Picking off that drone as well, so stopping third base from coming up. So Ssak looking pretty good right now, and at keeping Killer in his base with this mech and now a Wraith build until Killer can get a decent number of forces out. And probably we're going to have some Scourge pop out of 1 or 2 of these eggs, I imagine, in order to make sure that Wraith numbers don't get too high. And we do have Cloak researching, so this is going to be a pretty committed Wraith build, at least for a little bit, and not going to be so much of transition into dropship as quickly, which I would have actually really liked to see a quick transition into dropship. Killer would be very well off getting some speed on his overlords. I don't know if he suspects the number of Wraiths that are being produced, but if he does, if he's got that game sense going on, then yeah, speed on those overlords will be absolutely critical. We got a science facility coming up as well, so with that mech build, you know, it's very easy with the Wraith build with the mech and the Wraith to get to your science vessels very, very quickly, and he'll need those to counter the Lurkers if they show up. It looks like Killer might actually not be going Lurker at all, sticking to this Hydra army, so he's just going to go anti-mech with the Hydras, which is very normal, and then possibly we'll see a batch of Mutas come into play whenever he is ready to engage the Terran army. They do a pretty good job of soaking up a lot of damage and interfering with the Goliaths, those kinds of things. And if that Vulture gets the job, okay, good, it does not. That would have been very, very disappointing. And yeah, Killer, you don't want to do this. Yeah, he's gonna back right off and kind of turn the tables right now on Ssak, because Ssak's forces out in the open just very defensively weak units. Vultures and Wraiths, so they can't really keep the Hydras back, so he's got to wait until these tank numbers grow. He's got 3 right now. He's got the Wraiths, so he can continue to pick at Overlords, try and establish some map dominance. That is always useful for Ssak, and that's something to watch out for. A lot of times you see these contains go on, and the contained player really has no option except to build up forces and break out. But on occasion you will see kind of a different position where the player has Wraiths or they have drop ships, and there's actually a lot that they can do. So even though you're contained, you can really do a lot of good work. By the way, Ssak is transitioning into a biomech SK build, really, I guess is what he's going back to a normal SK build. This is actually really going to catch Killer by surprise, I think. He's expecting the very committed tank, probably Goliath build, and he's going to have a very well supported medic marine group with 4 or 5 tanks and a couple of vessels, and to fight that kind of an army you need Lurkers, and I don't know if Killer's gonna see this coming. This could actually be a amazing, absolutely amazing army unit composition and double switcheroo for Ssak. This is really interesting. This could really work out very, very well for him. That academy is up, so now he should be getting some medics, and he's researching range and stim. Hydras have been morphed into lurkers, so that will be important. He does need those, and I guess he's kind of suspected this. Perhaps the timing of the push, the lateness of the push, maybe he kind of determined that there was going to be a lot of medic marine. But whatever it was, definitely very, very smart on his part to discover that this was going on. Second factory going up as well, so this is going to be a good number of tanks, which will be helpful. That is a 6 tanks. I think he's just waiting for more medic marines so he can really push out and destroy this group. It looks like Killer has a pretty solid group of units. Yeah, at his natural expansion, getting a lot of lurkers, getting some lings involved here as well. And Ssak is going to have to control this army very, very well. He's going to have to push. I think he needs to push convincingly. He needs to push strongly, but at the same point, he's got to be careful that he doesn't overextend himself. It's definitely something to watch out for, because it's going to be a very mobile force for Killer. And some good work by those raids picking off that Overlord and a few Scourge as well. More Vultures being brought into the mix as well, so they will be very useful in placing mines on an opposite path of the movement of the Terran army. You can place down some mines and try and stop a pincer movement coming in, especially since he's doing a pretty good job of killing off some of the overlords here and there. He's killed off 3 or 4 overlords that have been wandering around, so that'll be good for him. And those mines will definitely be very, very good for that, and preventing backstabs, all those kinds of things. And Ssak is pushing across the map right now. We'll see where he's going to go. If he's going to try and use this attack to get a third base, he's building a command center inside of his main right now, so we'll float that to the 6 o'clock position once we get there. And a ton of lurkers all over the place. So many lurkers morphing right now for Killer, and these mines could do a lot of damage right there. Just a little bit, nothing too terrible. But definitely spider mines, so dangerous, and they are going to pick off a couple drones here, and Killer needs to protect this 12 o'clock base. All there is a spore colony, and that mine looks like it picked off a ton of Zerglings, so that's going to be a little bit painful here for Killer. He's lost 3 or 4 drones right there. There's the 4th drone, so he's lost 4 drones to those 2 vultures, as well as a bunch of lings to the mine, so those 2 vultures definitely doing their job, their duty. And Ssak is taking this time to move northward a little bit, and it's an interesting position because it's not really going to defend the 6 o'clock position, but at the same time he can try and force the army north more and try and protect it just by keeping the army away from that position, I guess is what he's trying to do. And now some vultures being thrown away, unfortunately, and not going to be able to do anything there. And I'm just waiting, really, right now, I'm waiting for the first engagement. Who's going to be ready to engage? Will it be Ssak with this really mixed batch army? This is just a crazy composition army. Or will it be Killer with all of his lurkers and coming in for a pincer with all of his units, which could also be effective if done correctly. So this is going to be very, very exciting. Remember, Killer also has the bottom left base, that is his 4th, so just to keep that in mind. If that goes unharassed, that would be very effective as well. And Zergling's just swarming in there to die. Some poor control there by Killer. Some very, very poor control. That was actually really bad for him, losing all of those Zerglings, all of that meat shield, and definitely backstab-worthy forces. So that's going to hurt a little bit. And Wraiths have found this base at the bottom left, but there is a Nidus Canal, so we should be able to bring some Hydralisks to bear and throw down a Spore Colony or a Sucking Colony as needed as well. Vulture's streaming towards the bottom left, so that's something to be careful for as well. He's going to need to bring some forces in. He does have the Defiler Mound. I don't think he's ready with any defilers quite yet. So that Nidus Canal looks like it's going to go down unless the Overlord just barely gets in position there. So the Overlord does get in position, but he's got to be careful picking off a second Wraith. But yeah, he's got to be careful that this Overlord doesn't get picked off by the remaining Wraith. I don't think it will. Yeah, it doesn't look like it will be. And these mines are going to not go off, not going to break those Zerglings down. It's going to be doing okay here. And Ssak continuing to push a little bit across the map, meets Bro. That Lurker does Killer. There he goes, and gets a swarm off. Oh, one of the science vessels does go down. And yeah, this has gotten into the control. This is going to be a very control-heavy game right here, with this mixed batch force for Ssak, with the medic marines, with the vultures, with the tanks, with the science vessels. It's a very large number of units, different kinds of units that he's got to micro and control and keep together. So yeah, he's gonna have to do this very well. And a lot of lurkers going down there. Look at that. While he was bringing his defiler up to do a little bit of assault on this position, a lot of lurkers going down, and science vessels really wreaking havoc as well, getting some irradiates off. Actually, it looked like the defiler actually escaped an irradiate. I might be wrong on that. Did not quite see it. Ssak taking the 3 o'clock base as well, so that will be his 5th if he can get that up and running safely. But Killer with these defilers, as long as he can keep them alive. The science vessels for Ssak haven't been roaming as much as a lot of players' science vessels. I think he's a little worried about the Scourge and the rates that were in play earlier, so that's something to be careful for. There's one defiler that does get irradiated, and now here comes an attack coming in here. Only a couple lurkers left in the batch, so it doesn't look like they're going to really be able to do that much damage. Look at that, not doing a second swarm, not really, kind of pointless, but not doing a ton of damage here. I feel like Killer's losing a lot of lurkers to do very, very little right now. He's only killed maybe a handful of tanks, a few marines. It's just not very efficient right now, and I think that's going to come back and haunt him. He hasn't really damaged the economy of Ssak either, so this is a precarious position for Killer. Of course, all it takes is a couple good swarms and a couple good engagements, a plague here and there, and suddenly he can win a dominant battle, and things will very, very much change. But still, right now, things not looking the best right now for Killer. This attack on the bottom left expansion, the tanks, a couple of them actually going down here as they hover over spider mines, so gotta be careful. A ton of spider mines. Look at all those mines sitting there, and Vulture's just trying to stay in front of the tanks right now, and mines being placed under that swarm, so that's really, really smart right now, putting those mines under the swarm so the Hydras can't really wander into range of the siege tanks. So nice little play there by the Vultures. Unfortunately, there's a stream of Zerglings coming in, and they are going to pull and absolutely wreck the remaining 3 tanks just by pulling some spider mines in. So that attack is nullified, and our Killer is taking the 9 o'clock base, so that will give him his 5th as well. It looks like Ssak might be taking the top right, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be his 5th. So a lot of bases coming up here. Haven't really seen a big decisive battle yet. There have been some engagements, but nothing too crazy quite yet. And these are some unsupported Marines. Look at that, Marines without even medics or anything. So that's going to be kind of funny. They are going to die even to Hydros. Usually Hydros do very, very poorly against Marines, but usually they're medic Marines, not just straight up Marines. And no Ultras Cavern yet, so we're not going to be seeing any of those soon, I don't think. Nope. Upgrades look like we're at 2-2 for the Hydralisk and the Lurkers. We'll see what the mech is when we have a chance. It's only 1-0, so Killer actually ahead on the upgrades right now against Ssak, so that is going to help him out if he can force an engagement while he has that upgrade. If he can get a good position, get at least somewhat of a pincer attack coming in, and maybe get some lings into the siege tank line where the Vultures aren't really defending, because they're not really defending the southern part of that line right now, so there is a vulnerability that could end up helping him a lot. Finally seeing some Goliaths mixed in here. I was actually thinking that maybe Mutalisk switch, just getting a dozen Mutalisk could do a lot of damage to these tanks, but Goliaths have been mixed in, as well as, of course, the science vessels make things complicated as well. Swarms going off, and now Lurkers and Hydras moving into attack position, but again, they're not able to get to the tanks before they all, basically disappear and die, and Vultures streaming in here to the 9 o'clock base. There we go. Now they're getting the drone kills, and I think they could have gotten some more drone kills with some little better control from Ssak, but he does kill a bunch of drones at that position before the vultures go down. Overlord's coming in for a drop at the 3 on the right. Not sure what's in these Overlords. Gotta think that there's a drop of some form. There they are. There's the Lurkers and the Defiler, and a couple swarms going down. So this is gonna nullify this base for now. As there's 2 command centers there too, but both of them are lifted. The other command center would have gone to the top right base. And to defend against this, now Ssak is throwing up some missile turrets inside of his natural expansion, and may actually see some at the bottom of his main as well. A lot of tanks here for Ssak on the left side of the map, and it's just getting really difficult for Killer to keep fighting this back. Those tank numbers are growing. The science vessel Cloud, I think he's up to about 6 or so. That's growing. There's some tanks at home. There's just so much tankage, and I really think that Ssak has just completely confused Killer, starting off with the mech, then kind of showing this a more traditional tank, medic marine, science vessel build, and now just going back to the straight up mech. The medic marine has just disappeared, and I'm a little bit confused. But, oh my god, those mines did so much damage to the Lurkers. But I think Killer may actually be more confused than I am, because he is just unable to deal with this. I mean, he is going to win this battle here. Finally he gets a little victory here in a battle, thankfully. It's been a little while since he's had a victory to hang his hat on in this game, but definitely I was getting very concerned here with one circling sneaks into the siege tank line and wreaking havoc here, and some Zergling bombs going on. Actually really effective Zergling bombs. They're going to get a bunch of these tanks. Look at that. Look at these cracklings. They are going to get all of the tanks here. So suddenly, all out of nowhere, what looked like one of those tank lines that you can't even attack as a Zerg player. Once you get to that many tanks, it just starts to get a little ridiculous. How hard it is to attack into them, but suddenly they all disappear with some good play by Killer, and Ssak showing some vulnerability in this game that hasn't been there for quite some time. And we'll see how we deal with this. If Killer can maybe take this and add some momentum and try and win a couple more battles, maybe take out a base, at least stop the top right base, which I think he'll be able to do pretty easily, stop the top right base from going up for now. But if he can keep up this momentum a little bit, defend this base, defend his bottom left expansion, and maybe try and take out the 6 o'clock or something like that, I think he'll be in good shape. Oh, that mine takes out a ton of Zerglings again. So crazy. Looks like they took out maybe 8 or 10 Zerglings, so there's like a couple hundred minerals that go down for a singular mine. Nice plague going off. Finally we got some plagues. We haven't seen it. I think that's the first plague we've seen this game, and plague is going to be very useful if he can actually get the plague off on the tanks, combined with Zergling bombs or just Lurkers. They will be very effective. Medic Marine group going to the top right to defend this expansion, and that base is going to become operational. Ssak, look at this tank group. He's just been building up tanks this entire game, and he's working off so many gas that he's able to do this. A couple Zerglings going to the 9 o'clock position, going to at least be harassive for a while and annoy the mining. But the hatchery at the bottom left, natural expansion, that hatchery goes down, and Killer does have some Ultralisk, so here we go. The game can change at the Ultralisk level. At that point, you can kind of get into a tank line with Swarm. There is still a lot of tanks. I mean, that number of tanks will still destroy any normal group of Ultras that shows itself. So you are still going to need Swarm and maybe even Ultra or crackling bombs going on. And we'll see if he's able to do something along those lines. A couple more Lurkers look like they're going to get picked off. And Ssak now not going to try and finish off the bottom left. Instead going to go to the 9 o'clock position to try and take out this base. If he takes out this base, Killer's going to be really behind on gas and really struggling at that point. He won't really be able to produce that many Ultras. He'll only be working off maybe 4 gas, but his main's probably mined out at this point. So he'll be struggling if he can't keep this together. Here he comes with the Ultras, but they go down to mines. Look at how little they last. And some Ultras bombs going in on the front tanks. They are going to go down. And the support for the tanks, where are they? Where are the Goliaths and the Vultures? They are not there. So this tank line gets absolutely massacred. A couple of Ultras getting to the top right base as well, so it's going to stop mining there. So another good turnaround play here by Killer. Very, very well done. And it looks like he's loaded up the Ultras again. Looks like he wants to go for some more Ultras bombs. But there are turrets and there are some Goliaths in range. So he's dropping the Ultras a little bit early. And that is not going to be effective. That is not going to be the way to go. He should have waited for some more ground forces to join those Overlords. And so that way those the Goliaths in particular were distracted. And some Scourge coming here. Looks like they pick up about 3 science vessels. So that's going to be very helpful. A couple of Overlords loaded up. They're going to go to the 3 o'clock position, and they're going to try and do some more damage here. But Siege Tanks, oh, what bad luck is that? Siege Tanks just happened to get in there right at that time, and he's going to need a Defiler. Is there a Defiler in there? There's Zerglings, there's Ultralists, some Zerglings, another... No, there are no Defilers, but he does manage to kill a tank or 2. More Overlords going to the top right base, but that base is already dead, my friend, so not going to have to do too much there. You couldn't see another drop at the 3 o'clock position, supported by these ground units. If those Overlords were loaded up, that could be very effective. This is not going to be effective, just a couple units. I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, that Ultra's not going to be able to do that much on it. Well, maybe. 7 life left, and there it goes. Maybe he was able to take down a siege tank in its death throes. Hatchet at the bottom left natural going up again for Killer. That's not going to be allowed to last. That tank line is just so ridiculous. So many tanks. And a stream of Zerglings going to the 3 o'clock position. If they can get in there into the tank line, which they are, they should be able to take them all down if they can stream in. There goes one tank, and the second tank is going to go down, and the third tank will survive because there are no more Zerglings. A couple more tanks moving into position as well. And Killer is now taking the top right natural expansion. But some some Vultures have gotten into the bottom left base where there's only creep colonies. They have not been morphed, and all of the drones in that position go down, so that is going to be big. And ultra crackling drop going on at the 3 o'clock base again, but doesn't look like it was able to do as much. This pure tank army able to control that assault. So yeah, this has been a very back and forth game. Some good plays by both these players, some good harassment done by both of these players in terms of killing off SCVs, in terms of destroying mining, and this is definitely one of the more exciting ZVTs I've seen. Very, very fun game, and one of the better ZVT games, TVZ games I've seen from Ssak. Ssak, I hated him for a little while for playing some terrible TVZ, but this is actually a pretty well played game, and I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit. And the mech assault is now heading towards the 9 o'clock position, where Defiler Swarm did go off, but there weren't enough units to defend. So Killer, I think this game may be coming to a close if Killer cannot defend these bases. I mean, the Ultras are nice, but he just doesn't have enough of them, doesn't have enough eco to keep pumping the numbers of Ultras and the number of cracklings he needs right now. It does look like he's coming in for a drop. If he can clean this up, maybe, but he's losing so many drones. Look at all these drones that are dying. And Vulture's going to the top right natural. These drones are going to get destroyed as well. So I think the game is going to come to a close shortly. I suspect. Just so much economic damage done in the last 2 minutes or so. So many drones going down. Bottom left, drones dead. 9 o'clock, drones dead. Top right, drones dead. Just too much damage done at this point. Economically, I think for Killer stand, just look at this. Look at how if we could see the first person view for Killer, I'd be really interested to see how much of a bank he has left, because I can't imagine him having that much of a bank with all the Defiler and Ultras use. I imagine he's been throwing most of what he has into this game. I imagine both players have been throwing most of what they have into this game. So, yeah. And the 9 o'clock base, again, mines, just doing so much damage. And this lurker was never burrowed. That actually, if that lurker had been burrowed, that actually could have changed the outcome of that battle, at least a little bit, because it could have stopped the Vultures, at least, from taking out so many drones so quickly. And this top right base at the main is going to go down. There's just too many tanks and Vultures. If Ssak can control them up a ramp, which can be difficult, but gotta get up that ramp, bud. Gotta get up that ramp. and finishes off. The 9 o'clock hatchery does go down. And, okay, apparently that's GG. Maybe? No? Okay, I thought I heard it. Yeah, there it is. So that's going to be game, and Ssak is going to get the first win for SKT1, and Killer goes down. So already we have a tricky position for Hwasong Oz. They still have Haya as a solid backup for Jaedong, But without Killer, their other backups are maybe Anytime or Perfect Man. Probably those two, plus Jada. Probably that's the foursome that we will see in the series. But we'll find out who they send out on the second map. It is going to be on, let me see. It is going to be on Bloody Ridge. So I will see you guys all in the second set. Good first win for Ssak, and we'll see who he plays next.